All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I got Miki Klann, a friend of mine, a friend of my sister's. Man, I got to tell you, when I found out it was you, I was like, what is going on here? What the hell is going on here? And I'm just going to show everyone. I'm going to share the screen really fast, Miki. You're the one that's got the fire on, you got the internet on fire right now, basically, that you served um, nine supervisors, right? The Maricopa Board of Supervisors, you served nine individuals. And let me just go ahead and show my audience real quick. Okay, boom, boom, boom. NCSWIC breaking. Maricopa County Board of Supervisors just ran out of a public meeting when they were served the following. Do you want to read this? My name is Michelle Klann, and I'm here today to put you on public notice and to inform you that you are not our elected officials. None of you have ever signed an oath to the Republic of Arizona. Instead, you have signed an oath of office to a foreign corporation, which means this is an act of insurrection. You do not have a proper bond carrying surety for your actions to we the people. Due to all the voter fraud, you have never been formally voted in. Acting as if you have authority over the people is a direct act of treason. Today, we, the body of sovereign, are presenting you each a notice of liability and opportunity to cure. The fine is 1.75 million per claim, and there are 12 signatures, which means you are each personally liable for 21 million. Wow. If you do not resign in 3 days, you'll be presented with a writ quo warranto and a waiver of tort. If you do not rebuke these truths and you remain in office, we will be notifying the military, and your act of treason will be grounds for an immediate military tribunal. That's ballsy, Mickey. That's really ballsy. I don't need to tell you the penalties for treason. We, the body sovereign, hereby command you to resign within 3 days or else face the consequence. I'm also here today to hand you this jump drive, which contains a 5,000-page document notifying you all of the danger of the COVID vaccine and the poison in the water, to name a few. These are high crimes and acts against humanity. If you cover up high crimes, you will be held guilty for committing acts against humanity. Therefore, I hereby command you to send a public broadcast to every resident in Maricopa County, notifying them of the dangers within the next 3 days, or you will be in direct violation and derelict of your supposed duty, making you even more accountable for your actions. Notice to agent is notice to principal. You have been formally served on record. Wow. So they attached this on there. I guess it's a Q drop. I'm not sure what this is, but yeah, that's what this is. Or I don't know what the relation with this is. I guess my audience can figure this out. But Mickey, that was really ballsy. Do you want to explain this?
Yes, absolutely. So, you had me on your show. We talked about Bonds for the Win, and that was 3 years ago. Well, 2021. And at that time, our kids had been masked for 2 full years. So me and my friend Ann LaFleur, we put together a game plan. We realized that each of these elected officials are supposed to be bonded, which means they're supposed to carry surety to we the people for their actions in the event that they do anything harmful to the people. So if I'm going to become an elected, or it's not supposed to be elected servant, by the way, it's supposed to be it's not supposed to be a public official. They are servants. They are not officials. They are servants. They work under us. A republic works like an HOA. If you don't show up to the meetings and you don't command the people that are supposed to be serving, the republic, then you're in derelict of your own duty. So when we started the Bonds for the Win project, it ended up becoming a nationwide audit because step one was to FOIA request, ask for their oath of office, their bond, and their liability policy. Then once you get those in hand, stand up to the board and serve them with a letter of intent, notifying them of all the crimes they're committing and demand redress. In this case, we demanded the kids were unmasked. And then the third step would be to file a claim against their surety bond or their liability policy. Well, we ended up having 3 wins. Okay, as in we had a win in Illinois, a win in North Carolina, and then a win in Arizona. And then I said, let's take this national. Let's just make a website. So we created bondsforthewin.com. We had all these people downloading the bonds and serving. So next thing you know, we found out we had blanket policies. So Ducey, for example, at the time covered all of Arizona. We got a hold of Ducey's bond. We put it online and everyone could serve their school districts in Arizona and their cities and their counties and their state.
This is really the first state to catch fire like this, though.
Yeah, I know, but I kind of have to give the background because if I don't give this, then people don't realize
Right.
what it means to take offense.
Well,
It's like,
I talked to you before we were going to do this interview, and I want you to be comfortable with everything that you're saying. Don't say anything that you're not comfortable with, okay?
yeah,
I don't want to push you in anything. So don't feel like whatever you don't want to cover, do not cover. Because I know what we talked about before.
yeah. Well, so it was such a huge success story because all the parents at the time, we were very concerned because they were starting to threaten forced inoculations. So what we did is once we got Ducey, we posted online. Then we got Newsom. Then we got Inslee. Then we got Brown. And all these parents were like, go, go, go. And they were downloading these forms. They were following this 3-step process. They were sending us the bonds. We were posting them online. And next thing you know, there were so many videos going viral of these cockroaches. It's like when you serve them, they run out of the room, they turn off the lights, they call the cops, and they freak out. And then you know what they do? They come back 7 days later and they vote 7-0, no masks and no porn in the library because they realize they're personally liable for their actions.
So it works.
It works. When
So
you
it
take
friggin'
offense,
works. They
it
get
works.
scared.
They get scared because they're all working.
But it takes action.
Takes action. Yes, it takes right action. It takes offense. So you become the creditor when you ask questions. You say, wait a minute, who are you and who do you work for?
But that's not enough for me, Mickey. Just because they come back and vote and they do the right thing, they got to get out. We got to get rid of them.
Got to get them out of there. Right. So then, but I want to talk about this win because this was huge. So next thing you know, 3 months in, Biden is pulling the mask mandate. So out of nowhere in 3 months, because all these parents stood up en masse and did it, we liberated 50 million children in just 3 months. And then it didn't stop there. It didn't stop there. Next thing you know, Canada was calling me, Europe was calling me, all these different countries, we were assisting them. Next thing you know, they released mask mandates worldwide. Then it was the private schools. Then it was the colleges. Then it was the airlines. Then it was the department stores. There's no more masks, guys. Do you remember how hardcore they were? It's a big deal for them. Moves and counter moves. Them to take a piece off that board was us winning big time.
Wow, Mickey. I hate to be, I feel terrible in saying this, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
I didn't. How would I know? I'm busy doing my thing. I had no idea you were pulling all the strings behind the scenes, man.
Well, that was 2 years ago. But here's the thing. Then we realized, because I kept asking, what the hell just happened? Why would they pull the move like that? What were we touching on that was so sensitive? Well, it turns out none of their oaths of office were legit. They're all working for foreign corporations.
Of course. Yes.
None of their bonds were legit. Every time you went to go file a claim, they were bonded to each other.
But here's my issue with this. Lawyers won't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Good. We don't want them to. They're all working for the crown.
Exactly.
And they work for maritime, which means they can only represent you as a dead corporation. And you're not dead. You're living. That's why they call this a time of the dead rising Christ.
So how do you take action if they control the legal system? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't understand how that works exactly.
Okay, first of all, no one controls you and no one controls me. However, you're right. The country has been invaded. We are under a foreign invasion, and it's important people understand this. So let's talk a little bit of history. It wasn't until we pulled back the curtain on the wizard and saw him react that we got to go a deeper dive. And in fact, at that time, I really had to pull back because I had to learn more. We had to learn more about common law and trust law. So imagine you have 3 law forms and they only taught us 1 to keep us stupid. They taught us maritime. So all of the courts right now in America are maritime. They're administrative tribunals. They're actually trafficking you in every single court case. They're opening bonds in your name. They are money changers. Okay, so let's talk basic history. I'm going to go fast on this. 1776, we signed our Declaration of Independence, but only 7 years after that, that's when the deep state came in and they formed the District of Columbia right next door, because every time you run in a republic, bring in God's kingdom, the devil has to roll in a counterfeit to confuse the people, because a republic to the deep state is a very big threat. And I'll talk about
they do that at micro levels too. Anytime we have this is big, but the Great Awakening, they turned it into the woke movement. They steal and then make it theirs, and then they prepackage it and give it to the people.
Because they know we live in a consciousness reality, and so long as they can take our attention, they can take our freedom. So long as they can give us benefits and get us locked into a system that we're dependent on, they can take our freedom. So I'll tell you how they did it. They usurped our entire country. We think we live in the land of the free, home of the brave. No, we are not free here. What they did was they rolled in their corporation and they started ruling over us at the corporate level. But at the time, each of the forefathers had established their own republics within each state. So each state was its own sovereign nation. Think of Europe. It was its own country. Each state had its own constitution and its own republic. The constitution was the trust indenture. It's the rules by which the public officials, the public servants, the trustees have to uphold the rules and obligations of the Constitution. But what happened in 1871 is that they rolled in, because all wars are banker wars, so it's all controlled by the 1% global elite. They funded both sides of the war and they created a civil war. And during that time, they bullied out all of our members of our republics and all of the 35 states that had formed republics at the time in 1871. So you had a governor, a lieutenant governor, secretary of state, treasurer, House and Senate for every single state. All of them vacated. And when they came back 7 years later, they came back as a corporation. So they changed the foundation of our country. And all they can do is lure your attention over here, because the key word there is vacated. Those republics are still standing because a trust cannot fail for lack of a trustee. Trusts never die. That's why when Trump restored the republic at the national level, now remember, we only formed a union to protect against foreign invasion. So we had only given power to the union to protect us against foreign invasion. Because what would happen if Great Britain came and took over Delaware and then we're all screwed? Does that make sense? We had to protect all the states in the union. So they were just wrapped in a bubble. But see, Trump has limited power. Even if he restored the republic, his limited power. So what I want everyone to realize is that you're now looking at two governments. You have two governments running. You have a de facto, which means fake, non-fact, de fact, devoid of fact, fake, phony, false corporatocracy running your government. They're not even your government. They're just luring your attention. You never had a vote, guys. You never had do you have a vote for McDonald's?
No.
Can you go to McDonald's and ask them to save you from the border? No, because their number one job as a fake government is to keep you pacified.
Right.
Oh, that's not non-issue.
And that's how they use the MSM.
That's how they do it. And so they keep you pacified. They control your attention, focusing you all over here, and don't focus here. But as soon as you start focusing where you're supposed to focus,
distraction. Yep.
The second you stop watching the fake news, guys, and we start shining light on the real news and the real republic, you're going to have a completely different reality. Because none of these people are legitimate. So now you have a republic sitting over here. So we call it de facto versus de jure. De facto means they've never signed oaths of office to us. So why are we giving control to anybody who's never signed an oath to the republic? De jure means real, means true. It means you've signed an oath to us. You're actually a public servant. And I can tell you about a few de jure sheriffs that are making massive ripples. And I can also tell you people that have stood up their republics.
What's your
thought? And they're holding out of necessity. You have to hold it back up the republic and behold yourself as a volunteer in position in the republic until a fair and safe election can be held. That's what it says in our Constitution to do. When you've been usurped, when you've been in a foreign insurrection, you have to. We are derelict of our duty, Nino, if we don't take back our governments. If we don't take back every city, county, and state,
I agree with
derelict.
you, but I just had Sheriff Mack on, and I've had another gentleman on about, he was a sheriff of the Republic of Texas, actually. His name escapes me just for a second. But what's your thoughts on the sheriffs going to Washington, D.C. to be briefed by the FBI, basically being federalized, in my opinion? What's your thoughts on that? I mean, this is dangerous.
It's very dangerous, and it's extremely concerning because one of the main things 107 is talking about, you guys, is that right now, what happened after they took over our country is they took over every police precinct. So you're talking 18,000 police precincts. Now, and they took over every court. So you got 687 courts that are now all maritime. They're all money changers. They're not operating as you would think in common law. So what they did was they taught us only maritime down here. They didn't teach us common law and they didn't teach us trust law. So all the truthers out there, everyone out there who's got podcasts, anyone's listening today, this year is the year of disclosure with regard to common law, because that's where we have all of our power. That's where we're in the land of the living. We're in the law of the land. Okay. Now, when they took over our government in 1871, they took over the police, the precincts, the jails, the courts, but they also took over all of the CPS, the foster care. They took over the banks. They took over just everything. So it became an insurrection. It became like almost a cancer that grew. So you have 18,000 police precincts right now that are all de facto, but you can launch a de jure one right next door, serve the police, let them know they're working for the wrong, people.
Wow.
Because here's the thing, and then you can move them over to the de jure by giving them that opportunity to cure. Sign an oath to we the people, and we'll let you go. So, so basically, we can't be giving sheriffs any power if they haven't signed an oath to us. So I don't give a crap what anyone's telling them to do. They don't work for us. We have to stop giving them power. If they haven't
Correct.
signed a note to
Yeah.
you, you shouldn't assume they
Well,
have
they
any
should be
power over you.
upholding the Constitution first and foremost, though, correct?
Right. Well, so why do you think the devil would come over and take over his corporations?
To usurp it all.
Okay. Well, under the Republic, we were dependent, or we knew that we had to have a Bill of Rights, which would block the government from being able to create laws. Only we, the people, can create laws.
Right.
And that comes all the way down from the Magna Carta, which was adopted by 52 countries. So, what they did when they brought in a corporation, when you build a corporation, you get to write all the rules, right? Because you created it, you control it. So at McDonald's, you can write all the rules. So all they did was they started rewriting rules. They started rewriting laws. They started creating fake, phony, false, everything shit made up, bills, statutes, laws, all these things, they're all made up. And so long as the people corral and do as they say, then those laws must be
This
real.
makes sense because then with all of this going on, it makes sense. The bread and circus, the MSM, the bread and circus, which is now what you were saying, you need at least 50,000 strong men to really pick up the reins and move forward. And it's like, they're all watching Monday Night Football. They're all watching WWE. They're all watching boxing. They're watching UFC. That's where they are distracted. That's what they're paying attention to, not knowing what's really going on.
Yeah. The
Correct.
whole
And that's all
time
by
they're stealing
design.
your country from you, and they're stealing every last freedom, and they're getting you totally dependent on their benefits. And you're over here just, sitting, shit and chill thinking
So
you've got freedom until there's a fake flu.
So you're going to create a presentation soon, correct? Can I say that?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to teach the people
You're going
about
to teach
common
people how
law.
to
I'm
do
going to teach
this.
you how to stand in your power, because what we did with Maricopa County is we basically served them a notice of personal liability. Because if I hired you to work for McDonald's and I asked you to rob a bank, who do you think is liable?
Me.
You. And that's the
Yeah.
thing about this devil's army is 99.999% of them don't even know they work for the devil. Because
Right.
when you take over as a corporation, you can now acquire any third letter agency. You can acquire every media company. You can acquire every technocracy. You can acquire every police precinct without anyone knowing it, because you don't have to share your books. You're a corporation.
And it just seems like it's just so late in the game that everyone's waking up. It's
But
to
you see
me,
how
it's like,
smart they were. You see how
yes,
smart the
very
Rothschilds were.
smart.
They kept all this trust information from us. They locked us out of all this information. They hid it all from Google. How are we even supposed to know, really? How
Right.
would we have known until we did this worldwide audit?
Right.
You know
And
what I'm
it's not
saying?
until really Trump took presidency that people started waking up and saying, oh, wait a minute here, something's wrong. Then
Yeah.
they started paying attention. So he was the great exposer.
He
Basically,
also put all countries in check. How did he do that? How did he do that? Did you watch how he got every country to capitulate?
yeah, well, he went and visited every country. I know that, but you might want to school me on this one.
He laid down all the facts we had on him. He laid down all the facts on all their horrible acts against humanity and said, you work for us now. You're coming on our board. You're going to make a deal now. And he
Correct.
got
Okay.
Saudi Arabia to capitulate. Then he went, the
He let them
Vatican,
know we had their
G7.
dirt.
What?
He let them know that we had everything on him, that we had their dirt.
He served them. He took
Wow.
offense. He put
Wow.
them in
Okay.
check. That's what we're going to do now. Worldwide, we're all
Hold
putting
on.
them in check. This is checkmate. You have to red pill, hard pill every person that's locked up in the system and let them know they're personally liable for their
Show
actions.
the video. I want everyone to see this video. Go ahead and share the screen. Make sure you share the sound. You know how to do that.
Okay.
So, yeah, share the sound on the screen. And folks, this is crazy. I don't know which video you want to play exactly, but
I guess we'll play the one of them running out.
All humble ourselves and resolve to rightfully
Can you see that?
understand everyone's rights.
yeah,
the context of this meeting and the meeting rules must follow accordingly.
This was yesterday.
This meeting belongs to both of us, on both sides of the deal.
Whisper, whisper, whisper.
So with all of those things in mind, Marbury versus Madison, Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Arizona Constitution, Article 2.
They know they're about to get fucking served.
We're just, reinstating the public, meeting public, sorry, that we are giving notice, please, to correct this action and give us our time. We want to have access. Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to call on our county attorney to talk to us a little bit about the open meeting law rules. And
Marbury versus Madison overrides any of your decorum or your made-up rules.
this meeting is now adjourned.
Sellers running for the hills. We the people will have answers.
You are being served. You are being served. You are being served. You are being served. You are being served.
You will go to the other side of this board.
You are being served.
We will vote in new officials.
It shouldn't be
Like
like
Howard.
this. It shouldn't be hostile like this. It's only like this.
You are Howard. You will not find
You are treasonous.
It's only like this because of you guys, because you're corrupt. It shouldn't be like this.
William.
Stay out here, do your job.
Sovereigns are ready to go ahead and hold meeting. Since they have vacated, we are ready to go ahead and sign in volunteers.
All right.
Out of necessity for the Republic of Arizona, it is our job. Then you are in direct violation. You are now committing an act of treason. This is my right to free speech, sir.
They're out. They're out. You've done your job. Protecting them. They're
Wow.
Yeah. So
Holy
then
cow. And so they got the hell out of there.
they ran. And if they vacate, they've
But
just
so they're
left their
back
post.
now, though, obviously, right?
Well, they vacated their posts and they've been served. So now we have literally served them with a notice of liability and opportunity to cure. So this time we're not messing around. We already know their oaths are fraud. We already know their bonds are fraud. We already know there was election fraud, and we already know they're masquerading as government. So we basically served all 9 of the people that sit on that board. We served them each with a liability of $1.7 million. Sorry, $1.75 million per person, per claim. So we had 12 signatures. So that comes to $21 million in personal liability per person sitting up there. And I only had 12 lines. 30 more people wanted to sign. And you know how good we are at collecting signatures. I'm sure next time I could come back with 30,000 if I want to. These people are in big trouble. If anything, we're going to be teaching mercy.
Wow. Okay. So soon, I just wanted to touch on this today and get my audience abreast on what's going on, up to date on what's going on. It was a huge, courageous act. Like, wow, one of the biggest I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, there's
So,
several
I wanna
videos
give you
that
credit
to
for that.
follow. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just amazing, Miki. So I want to give you the credit for that. I was like, I know her. What the fuck? I was like, this is crazy. I'm gonna contact her. So I got you here. Next, you're gonna be doing a presentation for everybody. That's coming. So right now, I just wanted to show everybody what you did, and it's possible. You made these cowards run. They scattered like cockroaches. Miki, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
Yeah. So right now what we're doing is we ran, Maureen Steele and I ran the nationwide walkout together where we basically stood up to the vaccine mandates, and we shut down the Golden Gate Bridge, and we had everyone standing against that at the time. Then we ran Bonds for the Win. Then we ran the truckers convoy together. And then we decided to go ahead and launch the People's Operation Restoration. So we're hoping this becomes the largest grassroots movement this world has ever seen, because the pen is so much mightier than the sword. And through each of those initiatives, we were able to meet all the freedom groups. So we're going to empower the freedom groups to come together with all this knowledge now and to be able to stand in honor. Because see, we haven't been standing in honor, Nino. There are 4 ways to respond to any presentment in the courts, and actually in real life too. 2 are honorable, 2 are very dishonorable. And we have to become aware of the fact that we've actually been operating in dishonor, because if we change our half of the equation, the other half of the equation has to change. And we've been derelict in our duties simply because we didn't know. And when you don't know better, you don't do better.
But it takes action, like what you did,
Yeah.
to spark other people to do it. Like, oh, wait a minute, they did it. I want to do it now. Let's get some people together. So it's a
Exactly.
chain effect. It's a chain reaction. And
Yeah,
that's
so
what you
then we
just
said
created.
we decided to start a superficial official challenge. So right after I got done surfing, I'm high as a kite. I mean, my adrenaline's so
Yeah.
high. I'm like, I know, challenge the next county. You know what I mean? I challenge this city. I challenge the next county because you know that everyone's ready to do it, and so you just give them the right paperwork and the right tools and they'll be able to do it themselves. And everyone gets very creative. Like when we did this for Bonds for the Win, some people were so creative. They'd have their children serving, or they'd have, and as I was running out of that courtroom and all the cops, or not the courtroom, the boardroom, when we were moving out slowly, the cops were, pushing us, kind of trying to guide us, but there were too many of us. If you get 500 people in there, the 15 cops, they can't move you out. It's your building. It's our territory. We have to stake our claim. It's your spiritual territory. Anyway, I start yelling to them. I'm like, they're poisoning your kids too. And we're all slaves in the same system. So this is what I'm trying to explain to people. And I do want to give this nugget of information. Okay. So the way I explain it to people is literally like we're on a football field and we've been pushed all the way back to that 1 yard line. No one ever taught us offense, and no one even taught us the devil's playbook. We didn't know what they were doing to us to manipulate us and to siphon all the world's wealth. Well, we all know now that when we were born, they created a bond in our name. Well, they created a trust in our name, an estate, and they placed bonds in it. And so it's called a Sesta KV trust. Others call it a master trust or a social security trust. And that trust was worth $2 million. You can ask Alexa as soon as you were born, because what they did was when you went to the hospital, they decided to have you sign on that birth certificate. And they actually had only your mother signing it. So they decided that you were a bastard child, dead on arrival. And since you weren't ever claimed, they claimed you within 7 years. So they basically created your estate and they claimed your estate. And that's how they really ultimately were able to siphon all the world's wealth. Okay, so a police officer, I'm going to talk about affidavits. I'm going to talk about common law here.
Okay.
So what is maritime? What is common law? We've been on this playing field. This is the maritime playing field. But when you bring it up into a common law playing field, I'm going to give you the tools to just glide right over the end zone, just right over the end zone, because they can't rebut anything I'm about to say. So when a police officer pulls you over and he gives you a ticket, that's also known as an affidavit. It's also known as an indictment. So you know how many times they've said Trump's been indicted? Well, that's just an accusation. They don't have any jurisdiction over him. He's actually been getting out of those mostly by, So I was telling you, there's 4 ways to present yourself. You can either operate in acceptance. You can conditionally accept and say something like, sure, I'll agree to contract with you if you can prove jurisdiction over me. Or a dishonorable reaction would be to argue, and they'd love to keep us in a state of arguing forever, endless wars. And the most dishonorable is to ignore or to be ignorant. Okay. Now, these officials have been ignorant with most of the stuff that we serve them. They're just ignoring it, which is very, very dishonorable. And I'll explain how that's actually going to work to our benefit. But so when a cop pulls you over, he's giving you a ticket. It's an affidavit of fiction. And we talked about that. Why is it an affidavit of fiction?
Oh, because it doesn't exist.
Because he works for a legal fiction. Because remember, he's been served.
It's an illusion.
He works for a corporation. He's not your public servant. He's not your peace officer from the Republic.
My ass.
Yeah. And he's trying to serve you as your corporate fiction, because he's got to get your driver's license, and that's got your all caps name, and your all caps name is the corporate fiction they created when you were born. So the all caps name is not you. Can a corporation run a red light?
No.
No, so they're charging the corporation.
So you're saying since the birth certificate of the capital letters, I've heard this before, you're being born under a corporation.
Well, you're normal.
I've heard everybody is like has a dollar amount of almost like, what is it, 60 million or 600 million each person or something that of value to the corporation. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. Because they've been trading you, and every single time you ever did anything, they opened bonds in your name. So when you create an LLC, when you open a bank account, you start a business, you got a home loan or student loan, all that, they were always opening bonds in your name, and they were trading you, because the more successful you were, the more taxes you were going to pay.
Oh my gosh!
So that's how they siphoned all the world's wealth.
And
when you died, they took all that money. As soon as you died, they had already claimed your estate, so they took all that money when you died. So taking people to war is extremely profitable to them. Killing people off is extremely profitable to them, because they've turned us into slaves. But you cannot hold the body as surety for a debt that the body does not owe. So every time they're doing that, they're trafficking you, which means we're all slaves in the same system.
Wow.
So the officer is giving you a ticket. Now that's an affidavit of fiction because it's got a 30-day notice, right? And you have 30 days to go to a court, or else what happens? You're considered guilty. But what you don't know is they're going to open a trust in your name in that court, and they're going to put 3 bonds in it, a bid, a performance, and a payment. And they're making anywhere from $2 to $5 million per traffic violation. That's why they have a quota. You didn't give them permission to do that, though, did you? So it was
No,
not
of course
under
not.
informed consent, which is all fraud, which means all fraud vitiates fraud, which means these guys have been operating in fraud since 1871. So they issue a ticket. They create this bond in your name. So you could technically say to the officer, excuse me, sir, are you attempting to traffic my person? Because there was no victim before you pulled me over, and you're about to create a victim.
This is another level, actually. I have guys that come on my show that audit the police, but you're at another level right now. There's probably one other guy brought on that.
Because
Really
I'm still down here. I'm about to take you to the next level.
okay. Well, mine as
So
well.
what you could do is you could pull out a notice of liability and hand that to the cop and say, you have 3 days to cure. And in that notice, you have to notify him that there is no evidence to prove he didn't just hold you at gunpoint. There is no evidence to prove that he didn't just use coercion and extortion to try to get you to sign for that ticket. There's no evidence to prove he doesn't work for a foreign corporation posing as a peace officer. There is no evidence to prove that he didn't just attempt to traffic your person, which is a total act of treason.
Have
Now,
you tried this already?
Does he know any of this stuff? No. And so that's why if we were to ever serve police officers, we want to be kind about this. We want to just put them on notice. We just want to red pill them and teach them like what's happened to our country. We want to give them documentaries like, JFK, Rich Man's Trick, or like, Thrive or something like that to teach them what's going on. Because we really just have to put everyone on notice. It's kind of like they're still watching the fake news. They don't know better.
Right.
And if you don't know better, you can't do better.
So I've had friends that come on that audit the police, and it's just a shit show, right? But the cops back down ultimately. They get scared, especially when the cameras get on them. So let me ask you this: is there a
I just want to
document
finish
or
that.
something you can show them?
I just want to finish the piece about the affidavit of truth.
Okay.
So if he does not do anything, then you could serve him with an affidavit of truth that, again, gives him that 30 days. Now, this is in the common law because it's living woman to living man or woman, whatever. I'm living. You can't prove I'm not living, right? In common law, it's man to man. It's not corporation to corporation. It's man to man. So if you hurt me, I serve you. I have personal testimony of what I just witnessed. So you write in your personal testimony what happened. You write all those things. All that comes to a total of $1 million. And now he realizes he's carrying $1 million liability for every single traffic ticket that he's issuing.
How do you enforce it?
Now, listen, once you have that guy in default, once he does not respond or he can't rebut or he doesn't resign or come sign an oath to the juror, because you want to give him a way out. We're negotiable. This is a negotiable instrument. Remember when I talked about how when the cop pulled you over, the court created trust in your name and then they sold it upstream as a debt instrument? Well, they pool these debt instruments just like they pooled the mortgages before. Once you get them in default, you're the creditor now, right? Because you have them in default. He owes you $1 million personally. Well, what if you have like 50 of those? You can pool them and sell them as a debt instrument up to an arbitrator. You can sell them to a collection agency. You can send it to the treasury.
Hold on. So people are going to be like, all right, sounds good. I understand it. I get it. How do you really enforce it in such a crooked system where they're probably just going to ignore you and everyone else is going to ignore you?
Okay, well, so the Republic of Texas has already been restored. They're already restoring their trial by peers. That's common law. Huh?
The Republic of Texas have already been restored. They're already... How do we know that this is going to work here?
Because no one's reporting on it, Nino. We have a reporting issue. We don't have a law issue. No one's reporting on it. Any de jure sheriff can run a grand jury right out in front of the courthouse. And all things are binding, especially if you take it to arbitration. So in the common law, what I would do is I would take this paperwork that I was going to serve the police officer. And I don't want to serve the police. I'd rather just give them a notice because they're going to just back down from notices. We don't actually really think, I don't think we need a strong arm. These guys they don't know what they're doing. They don't know who they work for. They don't realize that their boss changed, that there was an acquisition and now they're working for the deep state and they're collecting money.
Club bouncers, most of them.
They don't know that. But if we could inform all the police and get them over to the de jure, into the de jure republic, then we can protect our borders. Then we can protect our people. Then they're no longer acting like RoboCops, just pushing violations and tickets and parking tickets and all sorts of crap and stealing people out of home, children out of homes because CPS says to without a warrant, or they're foreclosing. You realize they're foreclosing on 250 homes per month in Maricopa?
Wow.
And this is all
In
illegitimate.
Maricopa?
In Maricopa County alone, every county they're foreclosing because the deep state's desperate to steal our property now. And because we were, again, too naive, we didn't know when we signed our mortgages that we were signing that over to the state.
Wow.
So
I
as
know
soon as
250 a week, you said, or how
a
many?
month.
A month. Wow.
And these are homes where you've paid off a portion of your equity and they're still stealing your home. They're not paying you the equity that you own.
Jeez.
On top of that, when you got a loan, they didn't even fund it. They funded it from your cess to KV. And then they conned you into paying off a mortgage with interest. And then they steal your home. This isn't
Jeez.
good. We have to inform the police. As
You are very
uncomfortable
well
as-
versed at this, by the way.
Yeah, well, we've been studying
I'm so
pretty hard.
impressed. Like, I am absolutely impressed.
Thank you.
Seriously, I'm being schooled right now. Like, I'm taking a lesson right now. Like, I'm
Oh,
trying
I
to.
got notes. We could go. I got it. So basically under this notice, which is, by the way, in Bonds for the Win, we never had a remedy. You're asking for a remedy right now. You're asking for a payout, right? We never got paid out on a single bond. We didn't get paid out on a single liability policy. All the liability companies were calling these board officials saying, we don't cover you for criminal liability. We don't cover you for practicing medicine without a license. Are you crazy? We cover, like, if kids fall off some, monkey bars.
Right.
We don't cover you
So
if
the
you
fact
rape a kid.
that you're giving them, you're serving them, they are screwed.
They're screwed, and they
They're, like,
realize they're personally
really
liable. It forces them to wake up. It forces them to stop because,
But
again, I'm telling you,
but how you enforce this? Okay, you got this far. Okay, you got this far, but they're gonna say, hold on, they're gonna say nothing after this. They served me.
Again.
How cute. That was a cute little display. It was funny, but what now? So now what? What else? What's the next step? How
Okay. When they are putting you in debt from the minute that you're born, okay, they're creating a debtor. They're putting you in debt. They're making you a sinner. Okay. They're doing rituals over you. They take your little footprint and they put it under the Vatican. That's your soul. They've already done rituals. They've already declared you dead on arrival.
Jeez.
It even says in the end time prophecy that you're going to have to go back to St. Peter's Cathedral, back to Rome, which is where you wandered from, in order to reclaim your soul. This is why the dead are rising in Christ. We are rising up out of that corporation into the land of the living. That's that playing field I'm talking about. As a living woman, I can serve a living man. So I could go serve the drag queen and say, if you think what you're doing is so appropriate, coming and teaching to my kids in school against my free will, why don't you take this affidavit of truth and we can have a trial by peers. And then we can decide if the community agrees that your actions are moral and just and that you're not grooming my kids with illicit material, right?
100%.
So you see how a trial by peers is going to change things? No one wants to be socially shamed.
But you'd have to coordinate that, organize
Anyone
that.
can do it though. Anyone can do it. So what I see people doing is they are setting up secure lines of credit so they can capture that money back. Because remember, if you serve them, it's money coming to you. So I've seen people hire collection agencies. I've also seen them serve up to TIGTA. So one of my buddies, he got this whole court, this court in he did counter presentments and he bankrupted the court because he had over 80 million in counter presentments. So the court filed bankruptcy. Then he reported them to TIGTA, which is the new treasury. And the treasury showed up with white unmarked vehicles. And we haven't seen him since. Then, you know what the pirates did of the courthouse? You know what they did? This is how slippery they are. They just bankrupted that court. They created a whole new Dun & Bradstreet foreign corporation. These are foreign corporations. We're foreign. These are foreign invaders. Okay. And they used the same building, side door, different address, and just kept going on, just kept issuing tickets. And they're making 50 million a day.
So this guy disappeared.
No, the guy's still doing this work. The guy that stood up to them and got the court to bankrupt. We haven't seen those judges since. We haven't seen the bailiff, the court clerk, nor even the brokerage company that was opening all those trusts.
Well, they're the ones.
They disappeared, but then the crime syndicate just rolls in a new court because they're pirates. They just dock.
Kind of like what the church does with priests.
They're just docking a new court. As long as they can fool us into contracting with them, they keep going. So until we, the people, restore our common law courts and start operating in trial by peers, and that, again, it's a free market. We can do this too. They just were bullying us. So
it's about being aware and understanding this. That's why this interview is so important.
Right.
I mean,
And so
dropping
when you stand
loads
up
of
to them,
information.
yesterday we put each individual into debt, $21 million. Like we let them know their personal liable for 21 million. So what's 21 million times 9? I need a calculator.
Yeah, so,
It's 189 million dollars. Well, if they go into default, what do those become? They become debt instruments. So we, the people, have become the creditors now. We are debting the debtors of society. And now if they don't do anything about it, they're ignorant of their sins. Now you basically sell upstream. So the more pressure we put on them, I don't care if we show up every week with a new set of 12 signatures. Do you see how you start to put
I see exactly how you're doing
major
this.
pressure against the system because you become a creditor, and there's huge value to that. It's a mind shift.
It is a huge shift. It's a huge, enormous shift. And I'm just wondering, how many people went with you to serve these people? Like, how many people did you have with you?
Yesterday, there was probably around 50 people in the room. We had about 25 people.
This happened yesterday?
Yeah. And I didn't even know I was going to do it. I had a call 11 o'clock the night before.
Yesterday.
Yeah. And I got a call 11 o'clock. I'm like, okay, fine. I got the papers. So what we're doing now is a new 3-step process. The first step is you give them a notice of liability, opportunity to cure. You give them 3 days. Force them to resign. If they don't resign, then you serve them a writ of quo warranto with a waiver of tort. Now that's very similar to an affidavit, but it's a little different. It's got more power. A writ of quo warranto basically means under what authority. So what you're doing now is you're operating as a body sovereign. Because remember, I told you that it's a trust. It's a trust. We live in a republic. It's a trust. So the beneficiaries of the trust, there's always 3 parties in a trust. You have an executor, which in this case is God and our forefathers. They granted us this republic. And we are the bearers of it. We're the beneficiaries. We've inherited the republic. So that's the body sovereign. And we, the body sovereign, are supposed to control the trustees or the body politics. So remember, trust 3 parties. You've got an executor, a beneficiary, and a trustee. So the trustees are supposed to uphold it. Think like HOA. You move in, you think they're going to uphold these rules, but you, the people, are the ones who make the rules. You decide how the money's spent, right? If they fall out of line, you fire them. That's what you do. You fire them. So we have been given this republic, but that's the great American experiment. They didn't know if we could hold on to it. They didn't know
Basically,
if we get
the
to.
steps are in here, like how you.
Well, I didn't include all the steps, but yeah. So yeah, those steps are actually like kind of that's defined there about. So the step 2 is you serve them a writ of quo warranto. That's a lot like that affidavit I was talking about. It gives them 30 days to cure or to rebut any thing that's a line item in there. And right now, what we have accused them of 1, not holding an oath of office, 2, not having bond to the people, 3, voter fraud, which is $1 million in fines, and then 4, masquerading as a public official. We could have charged them for a whole lot more. We were kind. Because we also.
Each, correct? Is that what it amounted out to? Well, yeah,
What's
right
that?
here. Liable
Yeah,
for 21 million.
But we also serve them with this 5,000-page document, which talks about how they're poisoning our air, our food, our water. They're putting, they're killing people through the vaccine, and we're demanding them to put out a public broadcast to warn the people about the dangers of the vaccine because we know people are dying.
And if they don't?
And so, we haven't put them on notice, So until you put them on notice, you can't perform the next action. So the writ of quo warranto and the tort waiver of tort gives them a timeline of when they have to either respond or pay you. And if they don't do anything, they end up in a default judgment of guilty. So you know how many times they've said Trump's indicted, but that's just an accusation. That just means he's been served.
Right.
But now we can say Sheriff Dipshit has been indicted and has been found guilty. Because if he does nothing and it goes into default judgment, he's guilty, right?
Right.
So the
100%.
news, we are the news now. We need to be reporting on this.
Which I'm doing right now.
Yeah. So I just want everyone to get inspired. I want everyone to start a news station and start reporting on this.
It is citizen journalism. I'm doing nothing that nobody else cannot. Anybody can do this. I just, get your camera, go on Rumble, start a .tv like me and do it. I don't know.
Yeah. So step
Yeah,
three, when they do
YouTube's
nothing,
tricky, but
is you have to send them a bill, right? You got to send them a bill statement because now they owe you the 21 million. And you have to notify the military for redress of grievance. Because remember,
did
the
you notify the
military,
military? You did that?
well, we've been notifying them and we've been seeing them come out with the white unmarked vehicles. We know the military's there working for us. Okay.
Wait
We
a sec.
know
Hold
it.
on. Time out. You just said something. You just glided right over that. You notify the military and you've been seeing them come out with white unmarked vehicles. Explain that.
We've seen them take out at least 8 courts.
Come on. You're
We know,
assuming we don't know this though.
no, I'm not assuming. I've been on the front line. You know, I went and I met all these incredible, there are a lot of very
You're
intelligent
fucking
people.
telling me right now that you know that they're taking these people out just because you come on, man.
I'm working with people.
Really?
I'm telling you, we have a reporting problem.
I've seen videos of like white unmarked vans grab Antifa dudes and like BLM guys and throw them in the back and like take off. And then that video
That's what I'm
disappears.
trying. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So
Remember during
hold
Antifa?
on, wait a second. You're telling me that white unmarked vehicles are pulling up because you notified them and taking people out. Come on.
I'm not
Really?
lying. Yeah. I can get you a few interviews. So what I want everyone to understand is that Trump has
I
done
ain't fucking with
everything.
you.
Trump has done everything by the book, guys. He is all about jurisdiction. He only has jurisdiction to protect us against foreign invasion. And he did that when in 2016, I'm just going to say it like it is. He sent 13 right after he was elected, 2016, we're talking Christmas Eve. So it was 369 date. It was 12/24/2016. He sent 13 separate units to take out 13 separate royal families on 13 no-fail missions, and they did not fail. Then he came back just 2 weeks later and he gave us an inauguration speech. He says, I'm going to give power back to the people. We didn't know we had power then. We didn't even know how to exert our power until right
I remember
now.
that very clearly, actually.
We
Now,
didn't
the
know.
background stuff, I didn't know the real details on it. I've heard stuff.
And he's
Do we
been
know that for
talking in
sure?
code the whole time. He's like, we're never going to forget about the man and the woman. The man and the woman are very important. We're going to bring them back. We're going to bring back the man. And he's talking about the living man and the living woman. We're coming out of the grave. We're no longer dead on arrival. We're no longer corporations. We are now in the land of the living, operating under common law. So under common law, we have all of our power, but we also have power as a body sovereign. So that's why as a body sovereign, we're serving writs of quo warranto. These are commandments to the body politic. The body politic are the servants. These are people that are supposed to have servants' hearts. They have lesser rights than us because we let them know what to do. They're supposed to have collateral. They have collateral against their behavior and their actions, as in they have to put up their house and their car and all their land because they're willing out of necessity to love our country and to protect our freedoms. And their only job as public servants is to protect our rights. That's their only job under maxims of law.
So now that you've served these people, the board of supervisors, are fucking white vans going to show up and scoop them up?
I hope so, because you can't run from the military. You can run from a board meeting. You can't run from the military, I'm pretty sure.
So you are going to, you're going to go ahead and tell the military, like you're going to.
This is how we're supposed to do it.
How do you do this? How do you who do you contact in the military and say, hey, come and get these guys? How do you do this?
Yeah, well, we've got the letters, we've got the notices, we've got the addresses. Huh? How
do you go about this? Like, who do you even contact the military to do this?
Once you really read through the organic constitutions, now this is another thing. They are so tricky and they're so sneaky. When they came and took us over in 1871 and they came back as corporations, what did they do? They're like, oh, we should just rewrite this constitution because it's not good enough.
I know, but we can't bluff them. You got to follow through.
No,
like,
listen to me.
Serve them. You better have the other steps to follow up. Or you get what I'm saying? Like, you can't just be like, I'm going to whoop your ass. And they get all scared and then you can't whoop their ass. You got to be.
Buddy, if we do this in mass, and we do have to stand up.
But are you going on a hope and a whim here, or are you really contacting the military?
Right now, you have no one sitting in the offices, Nino. You have no one sitting in the offices.
I get it. But what I'm saying here, people take the step. They got to be able to know all the steps to follow through. It's like a fight. I'm not going to just train for the first, second, and third round. I better know how to go to the 12th. So what I'm saying is, if you fucking serve these people, Who do you contact after that to come pick them up to show that you're enforcing what you're talking about? That's what I'm asking.
I think it's a great question. And I'm telling you, everything is jurisdiction. It says in our constitutions that if we end up in an insurrection and we restore our republic, as in we hold our seats, only when we hold these seats and we put our oath of office on paper can the body sovereign command the body politic to
get it.
redress the
I
grievance
totally
and call in the
understand it.
military. We are under insurrection.
I get it. I understand. I comprehend what you're saying. But what I'm saying is, are you really following the steps in case they go back to work and just tell you to go fuck yourself? Are you able to contact someone and say, hey, I served them, they're not cooperating, come pick their ass up? I mean, how does that work?
Okay. All they're doing is bullying you into tacit agreement. You are now taking
I'm
offense.
understanding that. I'm just saying, are you willing to follow up on the steps? And are you able
Hell
to?
yeah, we've already done it. We've done it over
But
and
you're
over.
saying people are getting swooped up in vans, and I'm just trying to elaborate on that for me for a second, because that's scary. And to say something like that, I'm
Why is it
not trying
scary?
to get
They're
you in
all going to
trouble. I'm
Gitmo.
just saying, like, when you say something like that, that's most people like me would think, okay, how are you doing that? Like,
Okay, you know, Trump
I'm not trying to
got
get you in trouble
every
here. Nothing like, don't say anything you don't want to say.
country to capitulate. He got every world leader, every military. You haven't seen a bomb drop until that date, that 2016 date I just told you, have you? We all knew they had to go into the Ukraine to clear out the Khazarian mafia. We all knew they were going to save Israel for last. We all knew
I'm
that.
not debating you in that. I
we
totally
all
understand.
know
I'm
that
saying
there's
as an
a
individual, as a person, just me, how do I enforce what I'm going to be doing? And so if I go and I say, okay, I'm going to go to El Paso and I'm going to go serve everybody, I better be able to cash the check that my mouth is writing. My ass better be able to cash that check. So I can't
sometimes
just go
it's
serve
about
them and
faith.
say, fucking all right, and then I'm out of there and it's over. And they just look at me and they go like this. And I'm like, well, that was cute. What do I do next? What do you do next? How do you enforce this? Are you really enforcing it?
Yes.
Okay, that's the question. That's all I'm asking. But you're saying you okay, because I know, being a fighter, that if I'm going to talk shit, I better be able to whoop some ass.
Do you ever go in a ring thinking you're going to lose?
No, but I train very hard.
Neither do I.
But you train hard, and you
I've
know
been
that whatever this
training.
guy does, I'm going
The
to be able to
second I
catch
found out
as
the
fast.
forest was burning, I've done nothing but train.
But I'm not trying to say, like, I can go up and talk as much shit as I want to Mike Tyson. I better be willing to whoop his ass. See
I'm
what I'm
ready
saying?
to pull the trigger.
Like I can scare people. Like I'm great at scaring people.
The thing that actually is going to do this is putting everyone on check. Nobody wakes up in the morning saying, how can I screw someone over today? These people are all just pushing rules that they don't know.
Put them on check. You put them on check. And
it's a checkmate move worldwide. If you put everyone on check
and you're hoping for it to catch fire, and I'm all about it.
I'm not hoping for it. I know it will.
Okay, we know it will. I'm with you on that. Okay, I'm not going against you here. I'm with you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Are you ready to follow through the other steps? Are they real? I mean, they're not just, you're not just bluffing, right? They are ready to, like, you're not bluffing.
I can back every single thing I've ever said on this channel.
Okay. Okay. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not debating. I'm on your side. I'm just, I'm
win, Nino. This is more like, it's a shift in consciousness. It's, you go from defense to playing offense. Do you understand the difference?
Have all the moves to play offense. I do know.
We outnumber them like 10,000 to 1. No, like
I'm not debating that.
What?
I'm just saying, you gotta have all guns working and greased and.
Do you know the only thing that keeps this system up is us not knowing that they're illegitimate and us giving them all of our power.
And they just look at this as a random act of cuteness. Then they're
cute. I am ready to take this step, and I will post the paperwork on the site.
We did what I'm saying, right? You understand what I'm saying? Like, yes. you go, okay. That's all I'm trying to make my point for. That's it. I'm not fighting with you or debating. I'm just saying, like, I hope you're ready to.
Let me ask you a different question. If you've never laid down the law with your kids, you think they're gonna follow the law? Like, if they're getting their hands in the cookie jar and you don't tell them the new rules are, you don't get your hand in the cookie jar, you get your hand slapped. If you don't put them on notice, are they ever going to change what they're doing?
but you better be willing to crack them. Just
I'm-
saying, because if they say, ah, whatever, mom's not going to do anything,
I had to know that we
he just
won. I've
yells.
been watching all of the fine print. I've been watching all the coincidences. I've been following everything since day one because I had to know that we won. I can assure you that if we were losing, we wouldn't have Rumble up. We wouldn't have BitChute up. We wouldn't still be here. Trump has created a separate, there are two governments. He's restored the republic. And by the way, did you know this? 1 week before they assassinated Senior had sent out the playbook for all 35 states, sorry, all 50 states at the time to restore the republic. He had sent the instructions on how to restore the republic to the Navy. And then 1 week later, he's assassinated. You don't think that the deep state is concerned about these republics being restored?
Assassinated Senior. Who you're referring to? I just do a brain fart.
Okay, John F. Kennedy Jr. had sent 1 week prior to his assassination instructions to the Navy to restore all 50 state republics. Those instructions, I guarantee you, were followed. I guarantee you it. Because right after he died, they started the Q movement, the Q military op. And I guarantee you they did it all by the book. And you've basically had two governments ever since.
So let me ask you this.
That's how he was able to use the jurisdiction, because again, I haven't explained this, but
Hey, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Are you worried about your own safety doing these type of, like making these moves? Are you concerned at all? Or
If I don't have freedom, I don't have anything. And if they're going to come back 2 years later and kill everyone with another fake thing, then what do we have? We're at war.
I agree.
It's a war for your mind. And they're trying to kill us. Their agenda was to kill 7 billion out of 8. It was on the Georgia Guidestones, guys.
I agree. I know.
This is a war for your mind. And if you don't fight now, you will die.
100% agreed.
So I'll put all my cards on the table if it means liberty or death.
Yeah.
And everyone should, because it's our duty out of necessity. We are under a foreign invasion. We are not free. These are redcoats. You don't go and beg a redcoat to save you. All these marches and these begging. I was a part of the marches. I was a part of the convoys, but those are begging. It's as if we were taught to just beg and not stand up. They took us over with the mighty pen, and we're going to take it back with the mighty pen. And we're not doing it in fraud. We're doing it in truth, and the truth will set you free. Because they can't rebut. And it says in the end time prophecy that he was going to give us the words no man can gainsay. So I am looking at the prophecy coming true in the book of Revelation. I'm looking at all the signs in the stars. I'm looking at how Trump got every single country to capitulate. I'm looking at the non-wars happening, because we haven't dropped a bomb since we got Obama out of that office. We knew that the U.S. was the military arm of the cabal. We know that we've seen all D.C. into lights. We know they've been under occupation by the Republic ever since Trump took over.
I gotta tell you, Miki, you got some big balls. Are you trans? You got some big balls.
Even if I was, I couldn't prove it these days. My God, no.
I'm just saying, like, holy cow, man. I have not even met, I don't think, besides Juan O'Savin, to be honest with you, I've met anybody with a big backbone as you. Maybe, you got Mike Gill out there doing his thing. You got Juan, people are on fire right now, and man, you got Kerry Lake, but I put you right up there with all of them. In fact, more so, because you are going for it. You're just swinging for the fences, and
it's not a fence, though. It's just the law form.
No, I know you've learned your stuff, but I don't see any security around you, protection around you. You're just going for it.
I got God.
Exactly. Okay. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. And that's funny. Guess who's calling me right now? A sheriff. That's interesting.
I do want to make a call out to Tony Franchetto. He's a de jure sheriff. They have taken back their county in Nevada County, California. They've also done the same. So I'm getting a lot of these clues and working with other people that have done the same. So we've also they took back a city in Michigan. So people are using this paperwork. It is working. This is the third win. Same thing with Bonds for the Win. Once we had 3 wins, we knew it was God's timing. He's ready to go. The people are ready to move. We need everyone to move in unison now. Nobody needs to be afraid anymore because we know that we have the words.
The ice has been broken. The ice has been broken.
The veil was broken. And the first veil was palpable. When I stood up to my school board the first time, I was scared shitless. I mean, I had Lee Dunnis go in front of me, and then I went, and then I had Ron Watkins go after me. And then that was the third win. And then it was like wildfire. Courage was contagious. It was like the new virus. You know what I'm saying? Everyone was posting these things online. We had so many views. I mean, look, we just posted that online. It was like the smallest video you've seen. There's so much more footage of yesterday. And we already have what, 4.5 million views? People are ready.
Crazy. I got
People are ready. They need this paperwork. They need this 3-step process. They need to do it. We're writing one up for to inform all cops, all elected officials, all the nurses. We're gonna just give people the power to serve every court, every judge, every.
How do people get a hold of you, Miki? Where do they look for this information? How do they find you?
So we've started a site called the People's Operation Restoration. We're going to be posting play-by-play. We've got all the news channels watching this now. We've got Tucker. We've got Ann Vandersteel. We've got Laura Logan. We're ready. We are queued up and ready to shine light on all the wins. We need to be pointing out who's doing what and when. No more fake news. No more football. Let's point out who's doing it. Let's get our country back. Let's get the world back. It's time.
So the People's Operation Restoration?
Restoration. Because right after we take...
.com?
It's out with the old guard and in with the new, and there's a whole lot of cleanup. So we need people to start thinking about who do you want to declare and decree over? Who do you want to protect? Who are you going to start to decide that you're going to start? Is it a school district? Is it your HOA? Is it, the city? And if you take over the keys, what are you going to do? Are you going to send it a broadcast? What are you going to do? Are you going to start cleaning up the water? I've got another city that's just started, they just got approval to start cleaning up the water because they're using these efforts and this paperwork. There's wins happening everywhere using common law because even all the lawyers are running from it because now they have to register themselves as a foreign agent with the new Treasury. See, we're seeing how Trump is cleaning up the Treasury. The Treasury and the IRS, they were always there to help us balance out our debt. So all the debt that we've seen was all debt that they had collected from our Sestakevi Trust and we had never claimed it. So that debt was money they owed back to us slaves. We just didn't know how to claim it. And they made it so difficult for us to claim it. So you see how the national debt's dropping? See, this is all biblical. You are about to see the largest transfer of wealth from the wicked to the righteous. And as soon as the people stand in their honor and we learn how to uphold a republic, we will know how to do so in the future. And that's why I think the white hats are waiting for us to make this move. I think they've made it safe for us. They took out the top half of the pyramid. We got to take down the bottom. And it was just a pause. It was like the powers that be, as soon as we awoken, it was just that one pause. That's all they needed. They had to pump up the fear to maintain control over us. Just us pausing and looking at the system in a different way creates a whole new outcome. Now we have to take action. Even the Masons taught the people that first you get them to care a lot, then you give them the power of knowledge, and then you give them the action, and they will do it because they want freedom. We want freedom. Now we know we're all debts. Every single country has been usurped the same way in foreign corporatocracy takeover. That's how they've done it in every single country.
Miki, thank you for joining me. This has been incredible. Ooh, I don't even know what to name this. I better put it up now, though. I'm going to put it up on Rumble. This obviously can't go on YouTube, but I'm putting it up on Rumble right now. On Nino'sCorner.tv and Rumble. Are you going to be, was that your presentation or do you still got a presentation to do?
No, I have a full-fledged presentation. I want to teach people the difference between a republic and a democracy. I'm going to be teaching people, what leads us to a utopian society, what leads us to a dystopian society. Because I think this is important too. You want to talk about it? I'll just spit this out too. It's very important stuff, you guys. We have been so dumbed down. We just didn't know better. But once you get it, it's so easy. So there's 4 forms of government. 2 are honorable, 2 are dishonorable, 2 lead you to utopia, 2 lead you to dystopia. The highest form would be self-governance. If everyone's needs were met, and trust me, there's plenty of world's wealth for no one to be going hungry in this world, no one to be going thirsty in this world. When everyone's needs are met and they're learning how to self-govern and you've got a trial by peers, everyone is in peace. Self-governance. The second down would be a republic. A republic is like an HOA. It's a trust. The body sovereign has authority over the body politic, period. period. You keep them in alignment. They follow the rules that you establish, and they're simple. It's just like thou shalt not, it's the 10 commandments. It's simple.
Yeah.
Then you down below that, first step of dystopia would be a democracy. We've been taught democracy is so great, but no.
Yeah, and that's all they talk
democracy-
about. You got Kamala Harris and everyone, oh, it's about democracy. Hillary preaching about democracy, and that's okay, go ahead.
They want you to think democracy equals freedom, but that's not true at all, at
Right.
all. Democracy means dictatorship, where government or authoritarianism is above the people, and a majority vote rules. Well, a majority vote never counts for the little guy. And so it always leads to a disparity of wealth between the poor and the rich. And so in a republic, you're making like board decisions based on morals and ethics. Do you know what I'm saying? You're thinking about what's good for your community. You're not just there saying, oh, the majority said. No, you're actually thinking morally and ethically what's good for the minority, what's good for people. How do we keep this peace, right? The next step into a very dystopian society would be an ism, any form of ism, Marxism, communism, socialism, capitalism, all of it. But even worse would be a one world government. And that's what we'd slipped into before Trump took over, because the Queen owned us all.
Prison planet.
Prison planet. We were in a prison planet. We didn't know it.
Which they're trying to play catch up right now with Biden.
Right. And who would want to stay in that prison planet if you serve them? Nobody. We just have to serve everybody. Why didn't we take notices to every single doctor's office? At least then they would have put the liability on their patients and had their patients sign a waiver. At least then we could have been notified. I feel actually derelict of my own duty that I didn't do that, Nino. Actually, I feel a remorse for that. I think we need to all do it now. It may feel confrontational, but it's the right thing to do. What's that?
I said I threatened a few doctors, but I look at them all like murderers.
Well, if they don't know and you didn't serve them, because they're trusting their medical board, they're trusting, the people around them, they're trusting the news. And, we can also serve the media.
That had to be the hardest dose of reality, was to watch my friends and loved ones go get that jab.
Yeah.
And not listen to me. That was the hardest dose. And the doctors go against you. I mean, the doctors were right in bed with it lockstep. I mean, it made me sick. How organized this was, how organized and engineered this actually was.
And I believe them in cut off of all their funds.
In my heart and mind, that ignorant or not, the doctors have an oath to their patient, and not to the WHO, not to the CDC. To me, it's you either protect that. If you don't uphold that, you're a murderer in my mind. Like, I look at them as they are murdering people with an injection, and they are. Actually, you are a murderer. If you were giving that injection to people, you are a fucking killer to me.
Well, if
I look at them that way.
But informed is
you're
everything.
telling me they didn't know deep down, like, this may not be the right thing to do, but they like the money.
They were getting paid.
They were getting paid. And that's all I'm saying. And if you did that, you lost your soul, man. You ain't going, sorry, man. I wouldn't mess with that. I wouldn't mess with that.
I wouldn't have wanted that experience in this.
No, I would have walked away from my practice right then and there. I said, I'm done.
And a lot of them did.
A lot of them did. The courageous ones, the ones who listened and who had a soul, the ones that sold, that's a sellout right there. And that's massive repentance. I'm serious. Like, I don't even know where you begin. Because if you were injecting people with that shit, you're killing them. And you're a murderer.
And that's just it, though. If we sit side idly saying, oh, well, we don't have a remedy because we don't have the military. You know something? If we don't put pressure on these school districts to stop forcing vaccines, they're now putting that mRNA in all the flu vaccines. So they're in the school districts, they're still requiring all these vaccines. They still have record of them. They're still practicing medicine without a license. They have to stop all of that now. We have to force our body politic at every school district to stop any and all vaccine requirements. Immediately, parents, if they inoculate all of our children, what then? We have got to protect the next generation. And this is a battle cry, Nino.
All right, my back is killing me. There's a battle. I'm crying right now. My back. Miki, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. And I'm going to put this up right now. So will you text me the links and give me some ideas of what you want to name this?
Okay, will do. Thanks,
All right,
Nino.
Miki. Later.